All right. So hello again, everybody. I'm part of the social media task force. And so we want to let you know what we've been working on. So we came up with this presentation, and today I'll give you just a brief overview of what we're working on, what we want to achieve, and how we're going to go about doing that. And afterwards, you'll be also seeing a bit of like tips and tricks on social media to get us all prepared. So there will be Mike, who's going to talk about Instagram. And then there's also Manon, and she will be talking about how to make your own video, as we're all in lockdown, or at least we can see each other. There might be a time where we will be making our own video, so she'll give us tips and tricks on how to do that on our own for the first time. And then afterwards, it's going to be Melissa. I'm not sure if Melissa is here, but Melissa and Catherine. So they are part of the social media task force as well as the media monitoring task force. So they will share with you what do we look for when we say share worthy news. What are we supposed to do with hashtags, and which social media metrics are important? So now I'll just go ahead and start. So ConnectAID is participating on different social media networks: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the ConnectAID.com website. So first, you wanted to identify, if somebody asked you, what does ConnectAID do? Does it give a product, does it give a service, or what is it? So simply, it's networking or crowdfunding. So what is the service that ConnectAID provides? Networking is a platform to connect those who are interested in humanitarian aid, like our community. We have advocates, there's people who are donating, the nonprofit organizations, and the partners, ambassadors. So these are all part of the online platform. And then crowdfunding, we have a lot of nonprofits who are a part of this, and we are supporting them in their fundraising. There. So given that those are the services offered by ConnectAID, who then is our audience? So when we are on the different social media platforms, who are we talking to? So for now, our priority is really the donors. We need to ramp up being able to reach out to them and to get more donations. Another target are the nonprofit organizations. We have a certain number of partners now, but we want to also keep on increasing and have them register their organization and their projects on the platform. And of course, our target are private individuals, people like you and me, all of us who are willing to donate or to be volunteers. Oh, just to be clear, so the donors on target one, I'm talking about like companies or organizations private organizations who will donate to the different projects. Okay, so on social media, we are not just talking to everybody, because when we talk to everybody, we're basically not really talking to anyone. It's not efficient. So every platform has its strength and weakness. And so we have identified, for example, on Facebook, most of the people who are active on Facebook are people who are ages between 18 to 39. And so on Facebook, the ones that we are targeting, the ones we are really talking to with our posts, are possible volunteers, existing volunteers, which is why we have our community advocates private group, and also so private individual donors, so people who want to donate but don't know how, or people who are not informed about different ways to help but want to. Next, for Twitter. So on Twitter, the most active users are based in the US, and these are from ages 25 to 49. And our target on Twitter, the ones we really want to talk to, are the nonprofit organizations who are already part of ConnectAID or who would like to be, companies that we want to interact with because we want them to be future or prospect partners, and other prospect donors as well. Actually, I didn't get to add, but on Twitter, we have a very nice group of influencers, which is being led by Adam because of his Rise Global weekly list of influencers. So influencers are also the people that we want to keep talking to and keep building a relationship with on Twitter. Then on LinkedIn, mainly we want to talk with nonprofits and the private sector donors. On Instagram, the millennials are the main users of this type of platform, and they're the ones who are generally showing behaviors of donating and supporting different kinds of projects. And so these are the ones that we want to talk to, mainly on Instagram. And so given that we want to talk to all these people, what should we keep in mind and what should be our approach? So our strategy is to always be audience-centric. So it's give some more, and then ask. So what does that mean? I'll give you concrete examples later, but basically when we're on social media, anybody can be on social media and anyone can post, right? It's very easy. So when it's very noisy, how do you stand out? So there are many ways, but when we are still quite young in terms of the age of the organization and we are still quite new, we should be giving value to our target audience. What do you mean when I say give value? We give them something that is helpful. We give them something that is relevant to them. We give them, well, basically, we give them inspiration. We give them hope. We give them, all the things that could help them. It's always, what is the information that I could post online that will be helpful to you, my audience? And then that's when we ask. When we ask is when we give them all of these call to actions, like our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter. Please donate. Please click this link. Please share. Please give a comment. So all of these call to actions are ask. So we should have, in terms of the proportion of the types of posts that we publish online on different platforms, it should be about 80% giving value to the audience and only 10% ask. So we build up the relationship, we build the trust, and only then do we ask them, and then hopefully they will return the favor. So in other words, the question behind, or the approach, behind every post is, how can you make content that actually makes someone's life better? So for example, here. So for Instagram, we've been doing a lot of work on Instagram, and Mike will get more into it afterwards. On Instagram, it's very visual. How do we engage with them in the conversation and keep the conversation going? Social media is all about having a conversation and keeping it going. You're not just talking, and it's not a one-way thing. So this is why with Instagram, the way we communicate is visually. So the types of posts that we will mainly focus on for ConnectAID will be food for thought. I'll show you a bit afterwards. Human interest posts. I think you may have seen the post, for example, from Manon, which is her experience when she went to Egypt. And then there should be a few coming in soon about the travel diaries of other field reporters when they went to Rwanda, for example. So we'll be featuring more of those, and snippets of interviews of people in the humanitarian world. Regrams. Well, regrams, it's kind of like a retweet, but we're taking the posts from our partners. For now, there's not a lot of action going on in their Instagram yet, but FXB India, for example, FXB Myanmar, sometimes Rwanda, they're quite active. So those posts which show results, give an insight to what are they doing, how are they doing, those are the ones that we will also repost on our Instagram and ask people to follow them so that they will be updated. And then photos from the field. So as you already know, there are some of us who are assigned to focus on different projects, and you will be the ones taking care of getting information and updates from them, and then we will transform them into different social media posts, not just for Instagram. So here, so the power of Instagram is its visual appeal. Just because it's visual doesn't mean we have to be random. When on Instagram, what sets other organizations, or let's say other accounts, from the noise of everybody else is when you're organized and focused, curated into what you're trying to say. For example, this one on the left. So this is not a nonprofit organization, but look at the way, don't look at just one post, look at all of it. It looks neat and organized and well curated. It's very well thought of, and it stands out. And it shows that you really put a lot of thought into it, and you know who your audience is. You know that you are talking to them. And that's what we want to achieve as well. And here are just other photos, because we have a lot of photos also that have that were taken years ago. So we can still make use of these photos. So if it was taken, let's say in 2009, this is a very good example. It was taken in 2009, but this one was actually posted in 2020. I took a screenshot of this 2 weeks ago. And they're just saying in their post that it's very simple. There's nothing fancy about the photo. It's just a simple photo, but the caption is telling us that in 2009, this is what was happening in Esther's life, and the impact of World Health Organization was this in 2020. And that's an interesting story that shows real impact. The other one is National Geographic. So National Geographic is not a nonprofit organization, but in terms of content, they are very good at showing photos that have impact, simple yet powerful, and at the same time, in their captions, they're very good at engaging people who visit their account and asking them to follow photographers, the writers, the journalists, and that's what we want to do. We want to engage people so that they can be interested in the nonprofits who are our partners. We want them to be interested to have a look at the different causes that we ourselves are supporting. Here. So content for Facebook, I'm not going to go into so much detail about exactly what kind of posts, because there's still a lot to flesh out. But for the moment, on Facebook, the question is, how can we inform volunteers and possible donors about our projects? So how do we keep our community, engaged, and how do we attract other people to be part of our community? And so on Facebook, we want to have more posts that are engaging. So these are just different examples. Like, for example, we want to ask questions where it's easy to comment on. And also, we want to be more positive. We want to highlight a positive spin. I don't like using the word spin, but anyway, a sort of a positive way of presenting information, like this one. Malaria kills a child every 45 seconds. That's too many. Please donate now, picture of sick child. Or, we're proud to work every day to save children dying from malaria. Just $10 will save a life. You can help. Please donate now. Picture of healthy, happy child. So there are two ways we can go about it. And what we found to be more effective, especially on Facebook, is the one in blue, where we use positive reinforcement. One of the reasons is that on Facebook, it's impossible to dislike any post. So when you post something that can be, which can make a person feel negative, or you don't necessarily like this photo, for example, there's no way for you to react dislike or I'm horrified. I feel bad about that. And that's why only the positive reinforcement type posts are the ones that get liked on Facebook. And that's just really the way the platform works. So again, it's about knowing strengths and weaknesses of the different platforms and understanding those so we can adapt our posts accordingly. Okay. So for LinkedIn, the content that we want is how do we promote authority and reputation to donors and nonprofits. So a lot of companies that we want to engage with are there. So what kind of posts should we put there so that they know, so that they can trust ConnectAID and understand what we are about and what we do? And then, so Twitter is the same. It's very short, only on Twitter, but it's not that easy, even though we only have limited number of characters. So what information is helpful, engaging, short, easily digestible. And on Twitter, we have to be a lot more engaged. Anyway, I will not go into more detail on that one, but basically that's the approach that we have in mind for Twitter.
Hello everybody, I will make a presentation today about five tips to make your first video. So the first one is about the light. So make sure you film yourself with natural light. It's always more beautiful than having a lamp in front of you. Try to be in front of the window to avoid backlighting, and it will also illuminate your face. The second one is about the sound. So sometimes we think that the image in a video is more important than the sound, but it's not true. Both are equally important. So make sure you have a good microphone and there are no disturbing noises behind you. The third one is about the intonation. So in general, it's a call to action when you make a video. So try to not read too much your text and don't hesitate to give intonation when you speak. Don't be shy and tell yourself that you are like playing a role. Now it's about the framing. So this is the rule of third. The rule of third is to place people on imaginary lines that divide the image into equal parts. So you can see that the girl in this picture has her eyes in this line. So try to keep your eyes always on this imaginary line. And the last one is about your look. So I'm going to talk about the eyes again because it's really important. Try to always look at your camera because your eyes must always be directed to the audience so that they feel that you are speaking directly to them through the video. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for your attention.
So I'm very glad to introduce you to Lionel Exposito. Lionel and I met about a few months ago, I think. That was during a Zoom or a meeting with for something about animals, like saving animals and so on, which we don't have on the platform yet. So that's why I was quite interested in joining this group. And Lionel did a presentation on growth hacking, which was very interesting. And we're very lucky to have him today. Lionel has accepted to become senior community advocate for ConnectAID. So he's part of the group, but he's quite busy. So I'm not sure he's going to be able to come every time to the group meetings. And we decided that on when was the date that we set up? Sorry, on February 22nd. February 22nd at 2 p.m. CET. Lionel is going to give a big presentation to all the community advocates and to all our nonprofit partners. So, but I really wanted to introduce you guys to him today and for him to give you a brief presentation about what growth hacking is, because the name doesn't even sound attractive, and it sounds, I didn't know what it meant two months ago, but so you'll see. Go ahead, Lionel. You can introduce.
Thank you for this lovely introduction, Gail. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you today. I'm based in Amsterdam. I'm French, as you can hear. I live in Amsterdam. I've been living here for the last 4 years. So I'm an entrepreneur. I created Rethink Impact Studio in early 2020. I'm on a mission to try at my level, humbly, to make a positive impact on people and planet through my activities and also pro bono activities, so professional and pro bonos. Okay, I help future-proof organizations around 3 pillars. So I have an expertise in digital, in leadership and innovation. Okay, and like I said, like to make an impact, for me, the best players are the non-profits. And discussing like with some friends of mine how we could help non-profits, came the idea recently, but we've been thinking about it like for the last month on how could we better help them. So we don't want to do it through donation, but more through giving some time of ours and share our expertise with them. And what's the link with growth hacking? We decided to launch something around growth hacking for good. How to leverage best practices that emerge in the startup scene for good causes. Okay. Anyone knows what does growth hacking mean? Give a guess. Okay. Let me, I didn't have much time to prepare it, but I have like a few slides. I will keep it very short. The idea is just like to introduce you briefly to the topic. So growth hacking was coined, the term was coined in 2010 in the US by Sean Ellis. This entrepreneur has been working for Dropbox, for example. Okay. Sorry, it's kind of technical. It's an ugly definition, but this is the most accurate. It's data-driven full funnel marketing based on rapid experimentation. So in the startup, how do they work? They create prototype very quickly. They engage in an innovative way with their customers with limited resources in the beginning. And they are very like purpose-driven teams. And if you work or support non-profits, you can find a lot of similarity. The purpose, the notion of speed, the notion of being able like to do a lot with limited resources, with small teams, you know. And my goal with this initiative is really like to leverage this best practice to better engage. There are four impacts, I think, for nonprofits, but correct me if I'm wrong or if you have other ideas. To better engage with your community online, to help nonprofits also make a bigger impact. You know, nonprofits know what to do on the field, but digitally wise, there is a long way to go. If you see what I mean, they are not very skilled. If you have a website, for example, some of them have social media channels, but when it comes to donation, very few do it online. So growth hacking for good can also like help generate revenues and donations, and also recruit employees. So normally, growth hacking is really like around growth, how to convert customers, how to generate more revenues for companies. Okay. But why don't we apply these same principles to good causes? Because we can. There are techniques there, and there are tools, but beyond tools, it's really like a mindset. Okay. So when we talk about data-driven, data is super important. You need to know your audience. So it can be either a customer or a volunteer. Who are they? Where do they go, like on digitally wise? Like do they go to some specific social media channels? What do they like? What are their interests? How do they behave? So you need to collect data with actionable insights, okay, to know like how to better address them and where and with what kind of content, for example. Then when we talk about the full funnel marketing, I think I have a slide for it. It's called the pirate funnel. So sorry, one more time, it's like technical terms. It's from awareness to retention, okay? So it's like, how do you attract a customer, for example, a volunteer or a donator to your website at first? They will visit, for example, the home page. Then acquisition, how do I make them sign up to my newsletter? Then activation, they will create an account and share personal information on it. Then revenues, for example, how do I encourage them to donate to my cause? Referrals, you know what it means. They may spread the word on social media to say how lovely and good people they are to their friends, which can be very positive for the non-profits. And last but not least, the retention, how to encourage them to donate again. Okay. So you can see it's really like marketing, sales driven, but it's totally applicable to non-profits. What is very special about this this discipline, it's cross-functional. That's why I really love it. It creates bridges between marketing and what we call product, digital product. For example, a website, a mobile app, or SaaS services. Okay, and there are like 4 main like disciplines within it inside. So data, as I mentioned, to test quickly, we call it A/B testing, but during the workshop, I will go more in detail. Maybe it's too detailed, Gael, let me know.
No. The more you talk, the more it's so interesting.
I only see like 4 faces, so please like raise your voice if it's not clear. If I go too much into detail, like let's make it interactive. Okay?
Mute. Everyone is listening. Like, wow.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So A/B testing, the idea is that rather than launching a huge campaign that costs a lot of money and that you don't really target who you're going to address it to, you're going to run small tests. So we call it A/B testing, for example. So you want to design a new website, you will have 2 pages, and you're going to submit it to a certain small group of people, and you will see based on their reaction, you will adapt your product, okay? So the notion of product, just to make it clear, it's digital product, okay? Then it's around like psychology, behavioral psychology. I read a book recently. It was The Power of Habits. Super interesting because it touches to neuroscience. How do you influence people? So you know that social media do it for wrong reasons, but also how to positively encourage people, influence them to do what you want them to join your nonprofit as a volunteer or to donate, you know, or to support you as an advocate. Then it's around like creative marketing, how to, because this is a field I really love, I'm passionate about, it's right around like content creation, okay? What format, what message will generate emotions and engagements? So it can be video, it can be photos, it can be text, it can be articles in on Medium, it can be, I don't know, webinars, fair trades, in-person gathering over a coffee. It's very diverse. And then an important part is around like tooling and automation. More and more, we have tools that enable us to be more efficient, to automate the interaction. For example, I use something very simple. It's not really growth hacking, but to give you an example that might resonate for you, it's called Calendly. It's a calendar, shared calendar. I define when I'm available, and when I share it with a contact, the person can directly select the time slot they prefer, and it generates automatically a calendar invite. And if you add to it some growth hacking tools that are in the gray zone, like Phantom Buster, to name one of them, you go on LinkedIn, you type some keywords, it will scrap all the profiles that match that, and then you can automatically engage with these people. So ask them to connect with you. So it's between legal and illegal. So some tools are, you have to make, we need to make use of them with carefully, okay? I think I might have just one more slide, and then like, please, like if you have questions. No, actually, yeah, maybe a quick example. I think it's a video. So like I said, growth hacking is around like conversion, okay? And this is Handicap International. They just rebranded their organization recently. I saw, just by chance, I went on their website and I loved it. And I was wondering, like, is there any growth hacker behind it? At least they are very good UX designer, user experience designer. What is very special about this website? When you land on the homepage, the message is very clear. In 5 seconds, you know who they are, what they do. Then they're able to segment eventually your interests. You want to donate, you want to volunteer. When you want to donate, you land on this page. It's always very clear. And you see this button in marketing, we call that call to action. Why is it red and like so? Because you want people to click on that. And what I like, so like you might feel growth hacking for me is not just about marketing, it's a lot around like digital experience as well. This is at least how I experience it. Some friends, colleagues of mine are more into marketing, advertising. It's not my area of expertise, okay? But this is just to give you an illustration of what can eventually growth hacking or very good user experience be on a website, because we tend to push too much content. People don't know, like, we don't really know ourselves what we want them to achieve. So you need to, it's really like a minimalistic approach, like Apple, you know, they make something out of something very complex. They made it very easy when today a 3-year-old child can use the phone. And that's the same thing with the website. Many times we push way too much content. It's not well organized, and people really like are stuck, and and you don't convert. So, yeah.
I'll start with a question to kick it off. So, thank you so much for a great presentation.
Maybe just say where you're from, because
where am I from?
I would love to learn more about you as well. Yeah, it's not about me, but because there is a lovely community here.
I have no voice, and that is a product of, I work for a food bank that does kind of food access, food insecurity, food rescue. And so I've been doing that the past 2 years. So I work for Feeding America, Feeding South Florida, and I'm in Miami. So it's like the second largest in the nation. So in response to COVID, you know, there are a lot of people who need resources. And so not just now the most impoverished, but the next layer of folks who are living paycheck to paycheck already. So that's why I have no voice, because I do fundraising and partnerships and coalitions and things like that. Before, for 18 years, I did that in US politics. So so I guess a lot of my questions kind of circle around that, in the sense that, so I'm curious, what are your strongest data points, you know, that you look through, or lenses that you look through? I'm curious, like regionally or background, because I'm just, as I'm thinking, you know, in marketing, you know, how many different audience might receive different messages, right? Using words in terms of fundraising, you know, like when you do a post or something that not only uses the word invest, which I think is really critical, and then donate, you know, having 2 calls to action, you know, or so people feel more attached to it, right? Than it's just giving money. So a lot of what I do is, you know, invest, be a part of the team, X, Y, and Z, you know, and playing with language, you know, outside of, you know, and that connects them to do other calls of action. You know, maybe they start to volunteer, then they do that, then donate, right? So then they're integrated at 2 points. So I'm rambling, but kind of your thoughts on that, and kind of how you aggregate that information, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Thank you. Sounds exciting what you've been doing in the last years. And you mentioned, I mean, there are like kind of few questions within one. First of all, yeah, persona, the notion of persona is super important. It's not proper to growth hacking, but like you said, your audience might be very diverse, but at some point you need to kind of categorize, create segments to start with, and keep it simple. Okay, in the beginning, it depends also on your maturity around these topics, around the teams you have, the expertise in-house, but at least start creating a few persona. Who are these people? And it's not just about the age or gender or where they live, but more like interests. Where do they navigate? Which social media, for example, do they follow? Okay, all the areas of interest. So start with that. Then when we talk about analytics, it depends on the channels that you have. But first of all, if you have a website, start with Google Analytics. It's very basic. Then you want one step further. It's called a Google Tag Manager, where you can even see like how people navigate on your website. And you have many tools that help you really like go deeper and deeper and deeper to generate more conversion. But initially start knowing, we call it know your customer, but in that case, know your audience, okay? On social media as well, like you have tools also to scrap data. So it's in the gray zone a bit, but where you can better identify the profiles of all these people on Facebook and other social media channels. So I don't know if I answer properly your question, but I would say like start with a persona, not too many like profiles. It doesn't have to be extra precise, but someone representative. okay? You gather data, so you see how they behave. And for example, and it's not just about quantitative data, it's also qualitative. So how do you know about your volunteers or community? You talk to them, you know? So, and in general, what I really, sorry?
That's what you do with us, with the nonprofit sector. You're
Yeah, you need to talk and listen to people, like what are their pain points? Why are they, what do they join your movements? What was the trigger for them to decide any kind of action, you know, and engagement? Qualitative helps you improve your organization, your product, and think about how to address their needs. But you need to mix a mix of soft and hard data, okay? So you can run also survey, webinars are amazing as well to gather feedback. Yeah, does it help?
It does.
Yeah, I mean, I did that. I did, well, in the US when I was in politics, some polling, you know, so different like qualitative and quantitative, right? So that makes sense. And then starting off, you know, generic and generic silos, or, you know, audiences that bubble up, right? And then filtering that over time as we get more supporters and are able to segment. But you're right, time is the enemy, you know, and bandwidth, right?
I know,
So as a nonprofit.
So you have the website, you have the social media channels. I mean, it's an omni-channel approach. Then the newsletter. In France, I found a study like a very few like non-profits were sending news to their community, and it's still like something that has a lot of impact. And with that, with a tool like MailChimp, sorry, I talk a lot about tool, but for me, it's more like around mindset philosophy. The tool you use doesn't matter, okay? And if you have no tool, that's fine as well. It's more the philosophy. The interesting approach with that is that you can even know like how many people open your email, how many read through it, how many like click on the buttons on the call to actions that you had. So the idea is really like you test, you learn, and you act upon it, and you try always to improve. Okay, to improve your communication, how you engage with them, and you always start with the audience, the people that you want to reach. Yeah.
That's
Any other question?
Yes, I
Peter?
have a question. Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
I'm like studying at Harvard with Rachel, and so I actually just did a whole course on sustainable marketing. And one of that they were saying now that the whole trend going for any product, no matter if it's a washing machine or whatever, it's all about it's going into service, and how like every product now has to offer some sort of a service. So for example, if it is a washing machine that you just buy once and that's it, now it's about, well, maybe you take the service that the company will come and pick it up for you, or they will replace parts for you or whatever. And in doing that, it really creates a relationship, a continual relationship with
subscription
the customer.
model. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So my question would be like, if that's where general products are going, how can that be applied to a nonprofit?
Engagement as a service. Interesting aspect. And actually, for the example of washing machine, I don't recall the brand, but one brand product proposed a subscription model where you don't own the machine, but they lease it for you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you can rent it.
Because then it's continually keeping the conversation going.
I don't claim I have an answer for your super interesting question. I think maybe this is the future, at least, you know, my own philosophy, because like I want to create a movement, and maybe we will just partner with Gael. We had a beautiful conversation yesterday, so we will explore it. It's very personal. It's not based on expertise. It's more my own experience or beliefs. Is that we kind of reach the limit of donation. We ask people to give a lot of money, and especially during this time. Money is not the most available asset at the moment, resource. What I did personally, I had some time a year ago. I wanted to help. It was a struggle to find a nonprofit. I wanted to give my time for different reasons. And I discussed that with different people. Everyone has their own motivation, okay? That doesn't matter. But to give my time, and this is how I approach it with Growth Hacking for Good, where I want to give my time expertise because I can see also I make an impact directly without replacing the expertise of the nonprofit itself. because they know what they do on the field. I don't. You know, Rachel, you've been working for 18 years, I think, in the field. I mean, I won't claim that I come and I will teach you how to do your job, but I can help you make a bigger impact. And I think that volunteering is something really like we should better explore. I like the approach of Gail also. It's like if you give a donation, it's not to an organization, but direct to ConnectAID, but directly to the non-profits. I don't recall the example. Sorry, I like to go through long digression. If I lose you, let me know. I found an American nonprofit. The guy was a promoter in New York. It's very known, like it's around water, like, and he tells this beautiful story where he will build. How do you say, Gaël? Puits, wheels.
Oui, c'est ça.
Yeah, in Africa, for example, and what he really like succeeded in is that at some point he would not communicate in the name of the community. The community itself would promote them, and you would have like lots of children on Facebook for their birthday where they would say, "Oh, I don't want any gift. Please donate to my favorite like organization." And then what they really like mastered is that you give $10. You receive an email, you follow all the projects, you know the impact of the project, the achievements. So they share the stories with you. It's really like it creates a better connection, I think, between the person who gives some money that can be a bit cold because you see the result directly. But maybe for further next time, it's super interesting topic to discuss. I never thought about that, like volunteering or non-profit as a service.
Yeah, because I mean, whenever you're talking about newsletters and things like that, I mean, that follows up and it gives the information, but it's really about trying to keep a connection with either the volunteer, with the person who donates, because then that would be why they would redonate and keep donating. And then it's also, you know, because ConnectAID is really a bridge between different communities, it's trying to inform people of that and then keep them all together, building the community globally.
A client of mine is called Fairphone. They are based in Netherlands. They really want to disrupt the smartphone manufacturing industry. So they make sure like they fight slavery in Africa in the mines. They protect the well-being of and the rights of the employees in Taiwan, I think, where they manufacture the phone, and they want to make it repairable, so sustainable. And they work with non-profits locally in Africa. And what I proposed them last time discussing with the team, I said, like, why don't you connect your own employees with the families working in the neighborhood of the mines, and even your customers? I'm pretty sure your customer would have an interest into it. So the question then is like, how? That is to be defined. But for example, I said, like, why don't you start with a simple approach? Collect books, open a library there. It doesn't cost much money, and you see the direct impact. And maybe through video conferencing, Zoom, I don't know, social media. Why don't you try to connect people to kind of sponsoring? You know, here I help a refugee. I'm a refugee buddy. I don't see him often, this gentleman, but we just spend time together chatting.
I mean, that's super smart, because I also feel that that's the next level of, you know, like so many charities would be like sponsor a child in Africa, sponsor an animal, you know, so, and then you're meant to get like updates of this is how the child is doing. But in today's day and age, whenever we are so interconnected, well, why can't you just text them now, or, you know, be so much more direct? So I think that's a smart development of it.
Yeah, and I think governments have a big role to play in that regard. I have another idea I want to explore in the future. It's like to foster civic engagement. I think cities and governments should better reward also the work of the volunteers. When you volunteer, you don't expect to have money. But why don't you give benefits to these people? Because they help their community. They make the life of their neighborhood. And I love the idea also of a local micro community. Because to help someone at the end of the world is important, because some countries are really in the need. But also sometimes you have old people, elder people, you know, with COVID, they don't see anyone, or a child who needs support from school. Why don't you help your neighborhood? And I believe that there is something to create here to encourage like everyone to act, you know, not just always expect others to do the job, but everyone can do it at their own level with their own time and expertise and interest.
Yeah, the ripple effect. Start at home and then it expands. Thanks.
All right. Well, this is really nice. I just wanted to say from listening to the first presentation to now with the questions, what I really enjoy about this team, and I can really feel month after month how all of you are gaining ownership of ConnectAID, and this is really so nice to see that, you know, ConnectAID is really our product.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like actually to ask something, Lionel. If I can, I'll be fast. Sorry about that.
Say where you're from.
Yes, I'm from Greece originally, and currently I'm based in Switzerland. And I studied, like I did my master's on international social development, and currently I'm a community advocate here in ConnectAID, and I'm trying to get as much as I can, like to develop my skills and also to give as much as I can from my time. So what I wanted to ask you in general, and also for ConnectAID, it is related, about organizations on the social media. So does it help, because here we're a lot of people, and I guess in the other organizations there are a lot of people as well, does it help to have a clear strategy on our social media, like a guideline, let's say, that everyone will follow? Because, for example, I'm trying to find the best way to attract people, not only for me but also for the organization. But now I'm in the beginning and I'm new on LinkedIn, so I don't know how to use it. So would it help to save time and to attract more people easier to have a clear strategy altogether, or we should test each one of us what is best and then to brainstorm? That's it.
Through the social media, you will share the brand identity of your organization. So you need like to have like a ton of voice, you know. Maybe there are some brand and marketing experts also, like who, if you want to answer this, super important, and what you want to achieve as well, especially if you work as several people have access to the account. Individual like contribution are not the most efficient way. So I would say like define your content strategy. It can be a big picture, you know, at the yearly level. What do you want to achieve? It's always important. What goal do you want to achieve? To have more followers? I don't know, you know, more contacts, certain level of engagement. And then you, at maybe monthly or quarterly basis, you define kind of a campaign management. And if you have different contributors, it can be, you can deep dive and decide, okay, guys, the next month, for example, we need to do like 3 posts, 4 posts, 10 posts. You try it all together to define categories, and maybe then for them also to propose topics, and you put them in a calendar, in a shared calendar. And maybe at the beginning, someone to control the quality, you know, because it has to respect maybe, yes, some best practices as well, you know, when you communicate.
You mean some individual posts from everybody's account? From your own account? You're talking about the own accounts of the people from the community?
No, I mean, when you have a community, you can provide access to the account to different people.
Yeah, okay.
But in the beginning, can be a bit risky to give access to too many, because you have some good best practices to respect. And the thing, especially with LinkedIn, the algorithm, when you communicate on behalf of an organization, the reach is lower than if you do it personally.
Yeah.
But there are tricks also, like how to generate like engagement virality, you know. For example, you don't add a direct external link directly on your post, because LinkedIn want to keep the people on the platform, but this is a well-known one. Then you try to tag people, maybe not too many as well, and every social media is their specificity in terms of content also, like I mentioned, the format you want to publish. Instagram, definitely it's not long text, but more like nice pictures, nice images. Or TikTok. TikTok is an interesting social media platform to explore. Because it's still at the early stage with the short video, more like sense of humor. So I would, sorry, to keep it short, yes, you need a social media strategy linked to your communication marketing strategy, and then try to decline it in a campaign management, campaign strategy.
That's good.
And with a short team, then it can end up being like an Excel spreadsheet where you have a date, who is responsible, what you're going to discuss about, with always in mind what is the goal that I want to achieve. And then in this design thinking, growth hacking mindset, learn what works and what doesn't, and try to leverage what works.
Would you recommend for us to go to TikTok?
Definitely.
Definitely.
They partner, I think, with nonprofits as well, with companies, but also nonprofits to reach the millennials. That's the place to be. And companies have not invested much yet there, so it's a new field.
Very much, Lionel. Looking forward to seeing you again next time, probably in a smaller group. And everyone, see you next week. We'll do task force groups. So take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.